after this.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Bullpen, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Myself, Brian McDonald, Cam Smith, John Belmer behind the glass, and you as well. If you'd like to join in on the conversation, you can call or text us on the HRMP listener line, 713-780-3776. And before we get into the Texans conversation and have you lost faith in their new OC, Nick Caley, I want to kind of set up the big question. This was a power ranking that I did on the on Jeremy and Joe earlier this week. So already have my list, but I'm interested to see what you guys think, Cam and John, and also what the listeners think. So we'll discuss the big question as we go on throughout the show. Just send in your texts or phone calls, and we'll get to them as we go on. But that big question is, what is the Texans' worst regular season loss in their franchise history? Because Monday night felt like it deserved to be in the conversation with the way they blew that game, with the Bucs getting the go-ahead rushing touchdown, I think with 5 seconds left on the clock. Or maybe it was 6, but it was definitely under 10. Definitely under 10, with D'Amico not using his timeouts for some reason, so he could have had more time there at the end. It was, I know you're a Chargers fan, Cam, but even you had to watch that game and like, ew, that's a rough way to lose a game.
Agreed, Brian. It was a bad loss. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to argue. I guess you could clump getting spanked with games that you would, I guess, expect to win or play better as a group of bad losses. I don't know if I'm ready to put it in a top 5.
It's not in my top 5. It is a
disappointing loss.
It's what spurned the thought, yeah, but it wasn't in my top 5.
It is a very disappointing loss, especially how it ended, and I know I'm probably going to get a lot of crap thrown my way. I will say that last Baker Mayfield run, it did win me some money.
Do you have a prop on Baker's rushing line?
I did.
Nice.
It was over 18 and a half or something. So
I don't mind that. At least you profit in our misery. At least someone's getting something.
But that's all I wanted. You get your yards, Baker, and then
he shouldn't have had it because Henry To'oTo'o had a kill shot.
I never thought I was going to get that bet because I never thought that he was going to get that run.
And honestly, he didn't even need to take. He had a kill shot, but he didn't even really need to take it. Baker was surrounded on the other sides when Henry To'oTo'o adds on to the rush because his man stayed in the block and he rushes in. All he had to basically do was run up to Baker, kind of stop, keep him, spread the arms out, kind of like you're playing rec league basketball. This is how you're guarding. Just keep Baker from running by you. That's all you had to do.
Yeah, I mean,
keep him in the pocket, and the other guys finish the job.
I feel like they were playing somewhat of a prevent, hoping that he wasn't going to sling it like he had been doing pretty well.
Maybe so. I don't remember what the coverage. The coverage was man. I know that because that was part of why he had such a big run because everyone had their backs turned. That was dropping back in coverage. I don't know if it was technically prevent or not, but I mean, if Henry To'oTo'o doesn't mess up that rush, the game's over, and we're talking about a Texans win. And although I don't think it changes the concerns about the Texans offense as we're about to get into it, but I think it definitely changes the tenor of the conversation. Maybe it's not as doom and gloom, I think, is maybe is the way I would phrase it. But let me give you one off the bat here on my worst Texans regular season losses of all time, and then we'll spread them out throughout the show. And again, if you want to weigh in with your own, you can hit us up on the HRMP list line 713-780-3776. Call or text. One on my list, the lowest one on the list. I don't know if you guys remember this game. 2010. They're playing at Jacksonville. It's a tie game with 3 seconds. John's nodding his head. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yep. So it's, again, the game's at Jacksonville in 2010. David Garrard's the quarterback, if you remember those days. It's a tie game with, I think, 3 seconds left, and the Jaguars are at the 50-yard line. You pulled it up?
Yep.
So David Garrard, with 3 seconds left from the 50-yard line, all he could do was just chunk it to the end zone. He doesn't even make it to the end zone. The ball is slightly short. Texans safety Glover Quinn. What do you do in that situation, Cam? You knock it down.
That's what
That's
you're
not
taught.
what Glover Quinn does. He bats it forward instead of knocks it down, and he bats it forward to Jaguars receiver Mike Thomas, who just takes a step into the end zone. Thank you very much, Jaguars win.
Yeah. And I'm no veteran NFL cornerback, but
Facts.
I did play secondary in high school, and one of literally
Someone else in this station used to talk about their high school football career at safety, but continue.
I'm not going to brag about my stats on here. I'm not going to do that, but
No,
I'm going to.
please take the time.
But in every aspect from middle school, high school, college, NFL, DBs practice tip drills. And
you bat the ball down.
you bat the ball down,
And
or
Glover Quinn does like a volleyball like bump. It was so weird.
you bat the ball down, or if you're near the sideline, you try and bat it out to the side, or if you're near the end zone, they've even taught you to almost kind of bat it behind
bat
you.
it to go out the back of the
But
end
you
zone,
never
yeah.
bat it up or you bat it forward.
Into the field of play,
Into
no
the
less.
field of play,
Yeah,
yes.
no, it was Glover Quinn was a great safety. That was a bad moment for Glover Quinn, but
Yes.
that was one of my. Johnny, you seem to remember that game. Was that something you thought of right away when I brought up this idea?
It wasn't. But as soon as you started talking about it, I had flashbacks to sitting. I was working at Kroger, and I was literally about to walk in for a shift as a cashier, and I was listening to the game on the radio in the parking lot, and hearing Mark Vandermeer call that and then describe it. I literally called my boss, told her I couldn't make it, and drove home because I was too upset to walk in the building.
Man, Glover Quinn cost you money that day.
Yeah.
You were in the parking lot and turned around and went home.
I did.
What, minutes before the shift started?
Yeah. I mean, like I was. It was
Did
the
you
end of
keep
the,
your job?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
did.
All
Yeah,
right.
they-
I
I mean,
thought
when
they might
when
have
I
told you
showed
not to
up
come
and
back.
worked, I did a good job. But
All right.
I was too upset.
All right, so let's get into what we teased coming into this segment. That is, of course, the performance of the Texans offense under the new coordinator, Nick Caley. If you have thoughts and opinions on that or a big question, again, HRMP listener line 713-780-3776, caller or text. So, look, the Texans offense obviously hasn't been very good. Week 1 against the Rams, going up against a very good defense, Jared Verse, Byron Young, good pass rushers, but they score 0 touchdowns. Obviously, not a good performance. You can point the blame a million different ways, but not a good performance, regardless of why and how it happened. Next week, they do score a touchdown. They scored on their first 2 drives, 10 points on the board, and then went on a long lull before Nick Chubb. Well, there was a field goal in between this, but before Nick Chubb had the 25-yard touchdown run to put the Texans up before the Bucs eventually won the game, as we described in the opening moments. But I think my biggest frustration with the Texans offense so far, see what you guys think. Obviously, people are going to point to the offensive line, although some of the guys on the offensive line I thought had a pretty good game in week 2, specifically Ed Ingram and Ariante Ursary. Some people will point to C.J. Stroud maybe being inaccurate. Some people will point to, well, they didn't have Christian Kirk, the wide receivers. You're playing rookies. I point my finger of blame at new OC Nick Caley because he's not doing the simple things right that could unlock this offense. Now, maybe he does them and it still doesn't matter, but we don't know because he's not doing them. We're going to start, and we got some audio to talk about this with, but he's not using motion for some reason, which, I mean, Cam, again, talk about your high school football career.
Yes.
I mean, it's one of the simplest things an offense can do to find out the answers to what coverage is the defense in and where am I going with the football before you even snap it. Because, to keep it very basic, you run a guy across in pre-snap motion, a man follows, they're in man. No one follows, they're in zone. Now, there are some added complexities to that could disguise things, but that's kind of the basics of that. And for some reason, Nick Caley is just not using motion hardly at all. So the motion usage rates through week 2, you look at some of these offenses that are near the top, and this is pretty much true for every year. 49ers at number 1, 77%. I mean, all these teams you're about to hear either have a good offense or offensive mind we respect, and maybe they're dealing with the bad quarterback situation, so they're not scoring more. But see what look at who's up here. 49ers 77%. Kyle Shanahan, great offensive mind. Rams 73%, number 2. Obviously Sean McVay, great offensive mind. Jets 69%. That one's kind of an outlier. I don't know who we.
Not
although they did play really well in week 1.
I was gonna say not a good team, but I would say an improved offense.
In week 1, week 2 was a disaster, but that's kind of the outlier here. Falcons at 69%. I mean, they've been a pretty good offense ever since they got old ass Kirk Cousins out. Dolphins at 66%.
Yeah.
Not great, but Mike McDaniel has been a respected offensive mind. Also comes from the Shanahan tree. Bucks at 63%. Obviously, been a very good offense. Saints at 63%. Not good yet because they have bad quarterback play, but Kellen Moore, a respected offensive mind who's won a Super Bowl. Then you go down to Jaguars. Liam Cohen's obviously a part of the only year that Will Levis looked good at Kentucky. He was a part of turning around or keeping the momentum going with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Like, he's obviously credited as a great offensive mind. Bills, great offense.
Obviously.
And Joe Brady, great offensive mind. Are you catching a theme? Your Packers, 61%, great offensive mind. Their coach, Matt LaFleur, actually got something out of Malik Willis. Got 2 wins out of Malik Willis last year.
Correct.
Are you catching on to trend? The teams at the top of motion rate are all the best offenses or the best offensive minds in football. Unfortunately, the Texans, I said number 1 was 77% with the 49ers. Texans down at 31.3%.
Which is crazy because you'll see games where they'll have two people go into motion. Or
yeah, they got a penalty for that in the Bucs game.
Or the same person won't go into motion twice on some teams. I mean, I saw 300-pound defensive tackle fullback Scott Matlock for the Chargers go into motion like twice. So like if he can do it, why can't the Texans
no, it makes no sense. Like, as much as we crushed Bobby Slowick, he was over 50% in both years here with the Texans. Like, it when they're not doing the easy things, it just makes me. And look, this is an extremely quick reaction take, but it makes me wonder about the competency of the offensive coordinator if he can't decide to use motion at a high rate in his offense. Yeah. This is not breaking new ground. This is not like it's some offensive technique that's 10 years ahead of its time, right? This is not what was the Bill? This is not Bill Walsh in the 80s bringing the West Coast offense in when no one had ever seen it before, right? Motion has been established as like a basic thing you do to help your quarterback and give him easy reads and easy throws for a long time now. And for some reason, Nick Caley, and we'll get into the audio in the next segment, has actively decided just not to use it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little strange because it's not. And not only does it benefit the offense in the sense of it can kind of get a better understanding of what the defense is going to throw at them. But even if that player in motion is not the target of the play, it still can make the defense think some type of way and throw them off a little bit. So like,
and it also can maybe not only could it, like what you said, what we talked about before with it, maybe it tells the quarterback if it's zone or man. But it can also, we see the Dolphins have used this when their offense was good in the past. It can help get guys like Tyreek Hill a free release off the line. If he's not standing still static and has the potential to get jammed, and yet he's on the move, it's going to be much harder for that cornerback to jam him. Plus, if the cornerback is one that doesn't travel, like a lot of times, Stingley did travel with Mike Evans this last week. I think he traveled some with Devontae Adams, but they don't do that every week.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's like Richard Sherman was back in the day. He's only one side of the field. So that's another thing. Like, you could get a guy, you could get a better matchup for your wide receiver by motioning him off of Stingley, let's say, and motioning him over to a guy that you feel like you're better equipped to attack.
Yeah.
So that's another advantage of motion that, anyway, it baffles me that Nick Caley, something so basic that we can point out as guys who didn't play at the highest level, we can point that out, but Nick Caley's like, nah, we don't need it.
Yeah.
Are there any good offenses on that list that have a low percentage of motion usage as well?
So the list that came up was just the top 10, and it was hard to find the whole thing. So I'm not sure. Now the Eagles, I will say the Eagles so they lost in the Super Bowl, then they had the flame out the year after where they started 10-1 and flamed out, and then won the Super Bowl last year. The Eagles in that year where they flamed out after the 10-1 start were the lowest motion rate team in the league. But they fired their OC because of it, replaced him with Kellen Moore, and then their motion percentage went way up and they won a Super Bowl.
So it tells you something.
I'm not saying that's a direct correlation, but it's something.
Well, I mean, there's got to be some sort of argument made that the higher the motion, the better the offense. Now, it might reflect a better overall team, but at least your offense.
It just gives you a better chance. Like,
yeah.
Because I guess my point here, and we'll go to break after this, like, do the things that are easy that can help CJ Stroud make easy, quick decisions, because he's not dealing with, in most cases, a ton of time in the pocket, because the offensive line, while I did think they looked better in week 2, they're not, the Cowboys offensive line from a few years ago, or the Colts offensive line, or the Lions offensive line now. They're not a great offensive line that's going to give CJ Stroud all day in the pocket for the most part. So, like, doing motion is not taking away from anything else you want to do. Like, just like it's not like you're putting motion in at the adverse effect of costing yourself something else, right? Like, just motion a guy across the field and run your play, because it can help CJ Stroud get a look at the defense and help him know where he wants to go quicker with the ball, because he doesn't have a lot of time in the pocket.
Yeah, and if the case is, it's the motion stuff is making it too complicated for CJ, then that's a whole nother issue in itself.
I don't see how it could, but yeah. The
would
whole
not.
idea of it is to make it simpler. But let's listen to some audio, because I think it lays out the case even better. We'll do that on the side of the break. Is Nick Haley failing CJ Stroud in the Texans offense so far? Is he the biggest one to blame for their struggles, or is there someone else you're pointing the finger at? Reach out to us on the HRP listener line, 713-780-3776. Cam, Brian, John behind the glass. Don't go anywhere. Bullpen will be right back.
This is The Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Welcome back into The Bullpen. Brian McDonald, Cam Smith, John Belmer with you here until 2 o'clock on ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Coming up in the next segment, an old friend of the station, John Lance's former producer and an original member of The Bullpen, RJ Saunders, will join the show. So nice to talk to him. He works for 1010XL in Jacksonville now, which is the home of the Jaguars. So we'll talk Texans Jaguars with RJ Saunders in the next segment. But
Duval.
yes, thank you. Yeah, feel free to hit that a few times when RJ joins us there, Johnny. So I got a text in on the HRP listener line, and if you want to send in your own, again, it's 713-780-3776. This one from 3948 talking about the Texans offensive coordinator, Nick Caley. And he points out something else that's come up during the week that I forgot to mention in that first segment, so good on him. But he texts in, what is going on with the OC for the Texans? You could literally whisper in Ray Charles' ear, shotgun or under center, and he could call a defense to stop them. What are they doing passing 85 to 90% of the time out of shotgun? Is this Pop Warner football? So what he's pointing out, I don't know if you guys saw these splits.
That's funny.
But they put out this graphic after the Bucs game where if the Texans were in shotgun, they were passing like 85% of the time. If they were under center, they were running it like 75% of the time. So like pretty much they would line up as like, well, they're under center, it's a run. They're in shotgun, it's a pass. And look, that's we were talking about motion or the lack thereof in the first segment, and we'll get some audio here in a second. But that again paints a further picture of seemingly how basic and incompetent Nick Caley's been through 2 games with the Texans.
Yeah, I also think them being in shotgun so much, I think it also, and this could be a little bit of a stretch, I don't think they have the running backs that would excel in a shotgun.
Yeah. I mean, because Nick Chubb is old and busted.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest.
That's where it is.
Like, he had that 25-yard run. So let me pull this up here so I can make the point. Okay, so he, in that game against Tampa, 12 carries for 43 yards, which is still not a great average, just under 4 yards per carry. But, I mean, let's remember, he had a 25-yard touchdown run. You take away that one run, he's 11 for 18 yards. 11 carries for 18 yards in that game.
Yeah.
He's just... Look, I don't know. Like, Nick Chubb was once an elite running back, arguably one of the best of his generation. He had like a stretch of 6 straight years where he was over 5 yards per carry. He was a beast, but he's had a lot of serious injuries since then. Plus, he's like 29 or 30. I think it's safe to say Father Time is one.
Yeah, and also I think the thing too is I think they were comfortable with Nick Chubb expecting Joe Mixon to still be playing.
Right, yeah. If you're
Chubb
only giving Chubb 5 carries a game, then cool. But now he's been thrusted into... Yeah, having 12 carries or more.
Well, even if Chubb was getting 8 to 10 carries behind Joe Mixon and getting 43 yards for a terrible average, like fine because he's your backup. But the fact that he is now your starter,
I don't want an inefficient backup getting 10 carries a game. I know what you're saying, but I'm admittedly nitpicking a little bit here. But yeah. So another text in on the HRP listener line from 0702. It's such an easy fix, even if your play doesn't call for motion. Just have a receiver line up on the opposite side and just motion over to his correct position just so CJ can get a look at the defense, SMH. Yes, exactly. Like, even if, we want the slot receiver to run a streak on the left side, cool. Line him up on the right side and just motion him over, let him run his same pattern so CJ could go, oh, a man follow. He's probably in man. Why is that so hard for Nick Caley to put into play? So let's hear from Nick Caley right now. As I said, we have some audio that will further this point. First piece of audio from Texans OC Nick Caley explaining his thoughts, John, on their usage of motion.
Yeah, I think if you can gain an advantage, a decided advantage, I think that it's definitely something that, you want to obviously incorporate, though. In terms of getting out and getting set, there's some games that we may use more. There's some games that we may not use as much. And I think that's week to week. And that's the honest to God truth. We've used plenty of motion back to spring and training camp, and we have the ability to do that with what we do, too.
So 2 things in there triggered me and make me wonder if Nick Caley's incompetent. Or maybe we should soften it to say in over his head because he's a first-time play caller. Maybe that's the nicer way to say that. But he starts it off by saying, if there's an advantage to be gained by motion. If there's an advantage to be gained, like we talked about it now for the last, 20 minutes, the advantage is trying to figure out what your coverage you're facing. Is it man? Is it zone? So for him to say if there's an advantage to be gained by using motion baffles me to why he would think that there would not be potentially an advantage to be gained.
Yeah, because even if there's not like a foreseeable advantage, there's not a disadvantage.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Why not?
Exactly.
Why not?
Just use it and see what you get. And maybe sometimes it won't matter, but the times it does, it could lead to a big play. The other part of what Nick Caley said that bothers me is he goes on in that clip to talk about motion like a week-to-week matchup thing. As if we're facing a team with a soft defensive line, so we're going to run the ball more. Or, they've got 2 safeties out, we're going to pass the ball more deep. Using motion isn't a week-to-week matchup-dependent thing. Using motion is just motion a guy across, try to figure out the coverage, give the quarterback an easier read.
Yeah, and you obviously want to play to the opposing team's weakness on defense, but that doesn't mean that you want to be stagnant and do the exact same thing, because that's what they got themselves into last year. Their offense became predictable, and now it's becoming predictable.
Oh,
again.
it's very predictable.
So,
we talked about the
yeah.
under shotgun, under center percentages. And what's more predictable for the opposing defense? You standing static at the line of scrimmage, or are you motioning a guy or two? Like, what's harder for them to figure out? Like, I don't get why he would think that that is a matchup dependent thing. All right, so Nick Haley seems to be missing the ball, but John, we got some more audio here from Texans DC Matt Burke. So we obviously think motion is important. In this next clip, you're going to hear Texans DC Matt Burke explaining how Liam Cohen, the Jags head coach, helps out Trevor Lawrence using motion in his offense.
The motions and the stuff are helping him. I think again, he's really good at getting the ball out quick. Like he's not going to hold it. So I think like Coach Cohen putting him in those spots to like have those quick answers and try to like again keep defenses off balance.
Matt Burke, go down the hallway, bro.
Excuse me.
Like he says in there, yeah, motion's helping him out and it's giving him quick answers to work with. Exactly.
Are you watching the same offense?
Well, no. Put the Jaguars' offensive performance aside, although they did score a lot against the Bengals. But what he's talking about in that clip is that motion makes it easier in the quarterback and helps you make reads quicker. It gives you quick answers. Like, that's the Texans' defensive coordinator talking about the opponent he's about to face, saying he's worried because motion would help the Jaguars figure out the Texans' coverage and give Trevor Lawrence quicker reads. Obviously. So why doesn't the offense down the hall use motion more?
That's the other infuriating thing. You're seeing your opponent in the same division taking steps to improve their offense, which they're doing this year, and they're using the motion, and your defensive coordinator is noticing it, and you're still not doing it.
No. So one more clip of audio, and again, we'll have RJ Saunders on from 1010XL in Jacksonville and the following segment to talk about this matchup, Texans-Jaguars on Sunday. Liam Cohen, we've talked about him. Again, Jaguars head coach Duval. He talks about the offensive mindset and how he's trying to help Trevor Lawrence, that is, in his progression.
The way that he can show that he's, continuing to respond is in his preparation, in the way that he's surgical, with his footwork, with his reads, like playing the position at a high level and continuing to get better week in and week out, mastering their defensive scheme, knowing what's going to happen, using the formations and motions to be able to undress the defense, like being
there it is. You can
and
cut
playing
it,
the
Johnny.
quarterback.
He talks about using motion to undress the defense. Exactly what we've been talking about. Motion people across, see how they react, figure out what the coverage is, give the quarterback a quick, easy read.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Nick Haley, who D'Amico and Caserio endorsed, like we can't forget about them in this conversation. It's not like Nick Haley showed up and just made himself offensive coordinator. This is the person that D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio told us was the guy to fix what happened last year.
Just to play devil's advocate here for just a moment.
Okay.
I know we got to get to RJ. But this is a brand new offense, a first-time play caller with a lot of new pieces kind of mixed in here. How much of this number is going to increase, motion's going to increase as we go through the season here? The other piece I wanted to kind of mention here is penalties. That motion can lead to some penalties and things like that. They're obviously trying to limit those. How much do you think that plays?
I mean, honestly, if you're worried about it giving too many penalties, then replace your guys.
Practice it better.
And
or
I get your
replace
point
them, yeah.
because some of what I was thinking was, they do have somewhat of a very inexperienced wide receiver core, so maybe they're not trying to throw so much at them. But at the same time, it's the NFL, and you're not going to learn unless you're doing it live in game.
Yeah,
so
my question would be okay, when do you do it?
Exactly.
I get Johnny's point, it's an inexperienced group, both from the play caller to the two rookie wide receivers, although Jalen Noel needs to play more. That's another failure to me of Nick Haley. That guy we saw with so much quick area burst and wiggle is not getting on the field as a wide receiver.
You drafted him for that. And
yeah, exactly. And you drafted him for a slot role that you thought was going to be Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk's out 2 games and Jalen Noel doesn't play it, except you give it to slow-ass Xavier Hutchinson. But, like, I get it's early on in a new offense, but I guess my pushback would be we're not talking about, like, next level concepts. It's just motioning a guy across the one side of the formation to the other. Like, that shouldn't be something that takes until week 10 in the season to be able to implicate. Like, to me, this just screams of a guy that was basically get my coffee for Sean McVay, and now he stepped into a position he wasn't ready for.
Yep. So it looks like that a little
That's
bit.
kind of where I'm at. Like, again, week 2, hope I'm horribly wrong. I hope Johnny can embarrass me with this clip in December, but that's just my read on it so far. All right, we're going to get to break now because on the other side of the break, a former employee here at the station, he was John Lance's producer, also one of the original 3 on the bullpen here with me and Sean. RJ Saunders, he now works for 1010XL in Jacksonville, will join us to talk about this Texans-Jaguars matchup. That on the other side of the break, Bullpen, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is The Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Welcome back into The Bullpen, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Here with you until 2 o'clock on this glorious Saturday afternoon here in the city of Houston. I'm Brian McDonald, joined by Cam Smith and John Belmer. And right now joining us on the HRP listener line, actually, John, it looks like he is no longer there from what I can see. Okay. All right. Our screen is messed up then. My fault for that. Joining us on the HRP listener line right now is a not former friend of the station, still a friend of the station, but former employee at the station. RJ Saunders used to be John and Lance's producer back in the day. Also one of the original 3 members of the bullpen, along with myself and Sean Mapes. Now works for 1010XL in Jacksonville, the home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. RJ Saunders joins us on the show. RJ, how you doing, brother?
My brothers, what's going on, man?
Oh, so good to hear your voice. So good to hear your voice. All right, man.
Likewise, man.
So, Jaguars 1-1. Certainly, I think a lot of Jaguars fans would have hoped they'd be 2-0, but obviously gave up the win late to Jake Browning and the Bengals last week. Just started off easy. What are the impressions in Jacksonville right now on the Jaguars 1-1 start so far to the 2025 season?
It feels like a lot of individuals will probably feel that the team should be 2-0. If there were a couple plays that you could get back, it's still questionable, even with the PI call on Travis Hunter late in that contest. You should be walking out of Cincinnati 2-0, feeling good about yourself going into Week 3 against the Houston Texans. I think a game that many have had circled on the schedule since it has been released. However, you're a 1-1 team and a team that has kind of showed that it's different from the past regimes, from the Urban Meyer regime, from the Doug Peterson regime. This team feels a lot more together. This team feels a lot more physical than they have in years past. And it seems to me that this is going to be a big test for the Jags, not only because you're facing a division rival, but when we had guys such as Doug Peterson or we had guys such as Urban Meyer, if something went wrong, such as the game that we saw against the Cincinnati Bengals, it would snowball. And it would be a snowball effect that would lead into the rest of the regular season. And all of a sudden we're having draft talk early on, probably in the month of November, maybe even early December, because it's gotten so bad. This is a test now to see if a team has really turned the page. And if this is a team that is saying, listen, we take the loss, we lose as a team, we're taking it on the chin, and now we're moving on to next Sunday, and it's a long season, and it doesn't mean that things are going to continue going in the way in which many are going to feel that it's gone in years past. So definitely a big test, but a lot of fans are definitely excited from what they've seen from the Jaguars over the last 2 weeks.
RJ, what's going on, bud? Cam here. Hey, so I wanna talk a little bit about Travis Etienne. It seemed like year one he had the fumbling issues, and then year two that the yards per carry on average wasn't there, and then last year he seemed like he was like kind of the odd man getting pushed out towards the men to the end of the season. They felt more trust with Tank Bigsby. Obviously, Bigsby's gone now, and it seems like Etienne is off to his best start and looking to have his best season so far. So what has changed, or has anything changed if you've noticed as to why he's coming across a little more successful at the early start of the season?
I really feel like it's the belief system in which Liam Cohen and company have with him. I mean, there were a lot of trade talks that were happening early on in the off season when it came to Travis Etienne. Many felt because of what Liam Cohen was able to do with Bucky Irving back in Tampa that maybe he would want a guy such as Tank Bigsby taking the majority of the carries. I think in the beginning of training camp, the guy who was getting a lot of the first team reps was Tank Bigsby. So you felt that Etienne was the odd man out, but you continued hearing from Liam Cohen that this was a guy he felt that he could flex and put in a lot of different spots, and felt that he could be that Swiss Army knife in the backfield in which they needed, and also could do the same thing with Bashal Tootin, who they drafted in the 4th round. So I think that belief system in which we're seeing from Liam Cohen that maybe we didn't see from Doug Peterson after the first game and the loss against Miami, and, revisionist history. How different would that season have been if Travis Etienne runs that ball in the end zone instead of fumbling it, I think at the half-yard line in Miami. So I really feel like it's been the belief system of Liam Cohen and company saying, like, this is going to be our guy. We really feel that he has many tools in which we can utilize to our advantage. Now, I do believe eventually Bashal Tootin is going to be the featured running back in the future, but I think for what Jacksonville's trying to accomplish right now, they needed for Travis Etienne to be that guy. And so far, so good for the teal and black here in Jacksonville of what we've seen Travis Etienne be able to accomplish. And hopefully we see more throughout the regular season.
RJ Saunders joining us here on the bullpen. Brian McDonald, Cam Smith, John Belmer with you here until 2 o'clock. RJ, you can hear him on 1010XL in Jacksonville as the host of Open Gym. RJ, a lot of talk right now going on about Brian Thomas Jr. Only one catch in his opening game. A little bit better in week 2, but still not living up to the expectations they had after that hot start or hot finish to end last season. And now kind of what's going on with the wrist surgery or wrist injury that he has or doesn't have. What's going on with Brian Thomas Jr. right now?
If you know BMAC, then you tell me, because I don't know. This is the first time that I had heard. Last week when we hear that Brian Thomas Jr. is dealing with a wrist injury, I think everybody is raising an eyebrow, saying he wasn't on any sort of injury report. We didn't hear that at all. So, it's been a lot of guesswork. It did feel to me that Liam Cohen was a guy who was frustrated with Brian Thomas Jr. after game 2. I could completely be wrong, but it's just the way he answered the question. following the loss to Cincinnati when they said, hey, do you feel like Brian Thomas Jr. was making some business decisions out there on the field? And he says, I need to look at the tape, and then I need to have a conversation with him. And he has a press conference or media availability a couple days later, and he's saying Brian Thomas Jr. has had some wrist issues. And that's the first time we've ever heard anything. I mean, even extending from training camp, it seemed like they had the off season where Trevor Lawrence, Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr., De'Ami Brown, they're all going to the Bahamas. They're documenting that. It seems like he's fine. And they're documenting, Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, Trevor Lawrence. They're at the local high school here in Jacksonville, and they're going through routes. And it seems to me that Brian Thomas Jr. is okay. Now, there were some aspects of the training camp portion of the offseason where he was dropping quite a few passes, but we weren't really worried about it because he had dropped many passes the last training camp in which we had. So we said the guy's going to be fine. It seems he's more of a gamer than anything. But now with this whole wrist injury thing, how closely do we need to monitor that? Liam Cohen did speak, I think, yesterday, and he said, listen, there's nothing that you need to worry about. It's a great opportunity for Brian Thomas Jr., so definitely something we're going to keep an eye on here because Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be an integral part to Jacksonville if they do want to have any sort of success moving forward. So definitely something we'll keep an eye on. But if you know anything, B-Mac, please let us know because we don't.
So I'm gonna keep it with the offense. Not a crazy question here, but thoughts on Trevor Lawrence because I mean he's been in the league 4 years, going on his fifth year now. I know it's 2 games into the season, so it's still relatively early, but he's got his lowest completion percentage out of all 4.5 years. His rating right now is his lowest since his first year. I mean, are we going to see some sort of next step with Trevor, or have we basically seen what we're going to see? A guy who might get you 4,000 yards and 22, 23 touchdowns. Is that what we're expecting for the rest of him for his career?
If you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, you hope you're not. Just a large part of that reason being is because I think you brought in Liam Cohen to fix Trevor Lawrence. You're saying that Urban Meyer couldn't do it. Doug Peterson had a great first year with Trevor Lawrence, and then he regressed, so he couldn't do it. Now you're looking at Liam Cohen as sort of the quarterback whisperer, the guy who can create everything on offense. Everybody's going to eat, and it's going to be a lot easier for Trevor Lawrence. And he's challenging him on and off the field to be able to make the requisite passes and make the requisite throws. You hear Tony Baselli saying, listen, this guy is paid now because we believe that he can lead us to the promised land being winning a Super Bowl. He has to take a step forward now because if there is another regression state and another coach gets fired, there's going to be something in which you have to ask now, is it the coaches or is it him? But it does seem to me that he and Liam Cohen are having a good relationship so far. And one big thing that we're seeing out of Trevor is he doesn't have the wristband on. That was something that I believe Liam Cohen challenged him on and said, listen, I want you to be able to understand the entire offense to where you do not need a wristband. So far, that has not been an issue for Trevor Lawrence and how he's able to retain a lot of information because Liam Cohen has said there's a lot of information that you do have to swallow and that you do have to set some memory in order for us to be successful in this offense. So I think he has the right guy to challenge him to be better. At the end of the day, this is going to be all up to Trevor Lawrence and what he wants to do. He says he wants to bring winning here to Jacksonville. But I believe he knows he has to play better, and there's many in the city that know he has to play better. But for those who say, well, he's a mid-quarterback and we need to draft somebody else and we need to possibly trade him, listen, he's being paid $275 million. He's not going anywhere. So this has to work. And hopefully Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence are able to have a relationship where it can work, and this can be a guy that can not necessarily at this point be the generational talent that we were sold on when he got drafted number 1 overall, but a very, very upper-tier quarterback within the National Football League that's having us competitive going into January.
All right, one more question for you, RJ. Again, RJ Saunders from 1010XL in Jacksonville, host of Open Gym, joining us here on the Bullpen. RJ, we heard a reporter, I don't know what day this happened, but tried to get something out of Trevor Lawrence about the rematch with Azeez Al-Shaair. Obviously, we know what happened in the game in Jacksonville last year. Azeez hit him when he was sliding and knocked Trevor Lawrence out for the year. What's been the conversation in Jacksonville about that matchup specifically, and Aziz coming to town?
That Aziz Al-Shaair needs to have heavy armed security with him once he gets into Duval. No, I'm kidding.
Duval.
No, I mean, yeah, we can't use that here at Tintin XL. They told us we couldn't use that. So glad to hear that after so long.
Hold on. Get back to your answer in a second. But has that been banned at Tintin XL?
Yeah, no. Yeah, we can't use the Duval clip from Liam Cohen. They say we're making fun of him if we use that. So no, it's something we cannot do for the Jaguars. However, I will say this. The question was asked is just how he should attack it. I mean, listen, it happened. It was last year. If you want to have any sort of response to him, show it out there on the field. I mean, there's 10 other guys on the defensive side of the football. There's has to be bigger fish to fry. If Trevor Lawrence and his mind is still on the fact that, Aziz Al-Shaair ended his season last year and you're really trying to stick it to him, I'm on the line of what Liam Cohen was on, and we're not focused on the right things here. Listen, it happened. Let's move on. Let's try to get a win on Sunday because who would have thought on the bingo card that the Indianapolis Colts would be leading in this division so far?
Indiana Jones, baby.
Yeah, I think the Boo Birds will be out, for Aziz Al-Shaair once he, makes his way in his entrance in the Everbank Stadium, but I don't think this can be certainly a one-on-one matchup if Jacksonville is hoping to win and have the season in which they're setting out to have. So Aziz will be out there. He'll hear the boos from the fans, but Trevor can't make this a one-on-one matchup.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Like, Trevor's got to focus on, beating guys like Stingley and Kamari Lassiter. I just will be interested to see if an offensive lineman finishes his block maybe a little bit longer on Aziz than he would have without. But that'll be something we'll watch in the game. RJ, thank you for joining us so much. You can hear again RJ on 1010XL in Jacksonville, the host of Open Gym. RJ, it was great to have you on the show again, man. Don't be a stranger, brother.
Continued success, boys. You know you want to find me.
All right, man. That was RJ Saunders. Thanks to him for joining the show. On the other side of the break, John, Cam, and myself, we get into our prize picks, our daily plays for fantasy football, and our game picks in the NFL. That when the bullpen returns, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Welcome back in, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. I'm Brian McDonald, joined by Cam Smith and John Belmer, with you here until 2 o'clock on the Bullpen, and we'll get into our prize picks and our NFL game picks in just a minute, but I had a couple of texts come in on the HRP listener line. Again, that is 713-780-3776 for a call or text. Going back to our Texans offensive conversation earlier in the show, Cam, from 3878. Hey, guys, don't worry about Texans offensive line. Remember Nick saying they weren't worried? You remember that clip from the fan event?
Yes.
Yeah, Nick Caserio. That's not aging well.
Which, to be honest, might have made most people worry even more.
Yes. Well, it just came off as smug. Like, I like Nick, 99% of what Nick Caserio's done, like picking players, except for the offensive line. But, like, the hills he decides to die on, like, I don't know what a window is. When someone asks him, like, what do you feel like is the window to win with this roster? Oh, I don't know what a window is. Or then last year where he told the world that he doesn't know what drafting for need is. When they asked him about drafting, and guess what did he do? He drafted for need. Yeah. He took offensive lineman, he took running back, he took wide receiver, he drafted for need. And then this whole thing about, well, D'Amico and I aren't worried, so you shouldn't be either. It's like, it just comes off as smug and arrogant, and I don't know. It makes me forget about the 99% that he does well for a moment, because that 1% just pisses me off.
He's trolling people like you.
I guess, yeah. Another text here on the HRP listener line from 5171. I like to see Mark get the ball, talking about Woody Mark. I like to see Mark get the ball more. He's a very good blocker and receiver. I think he could be a good playmaker. Like, I would certainly want to see him on the field more than Dare. Like, Dare had a terrible game. If you believe in PFF grades, he was a 31 in the Tampa Bay game. And that includes, here's another frustrating thing about Nick Haley. So credit to Landry Locker. He asked this question this past week about Dare and playing time and maybe getting young guys more involved, like Jalen Nolan, Woody Marks. And he credited Dare, well, he's really good in pass pro, coming off the game where Dare had his worst pass pro game against Tampa. Like, Woody Marks is a better runner. He's a better receiver. We saw what he did on that little out route he had early in the game that he turned into like a 30-yard gain. And from what I saw, at least recently, he's a better pass protector. Like, to me, there's no reason other than I'm a hard coach and I'm going to play veterans over the rookie. There's no reason other than that to play Dare over Woody Marks, but we'll see how the Texans adjust.
Yeah, and look, I get that in Houston there's a lot of examples of staying loyal to somebody that has done a
loyalty will get you buried.
A fair job for their respected team, does everything that they're asked for, and I get that Dare. He's a really good special teams player.
He can
Dare, sorry.
Dare. Do you have a stroke on air?
Obviously, he's a great special teams player. He can even kick field goals for you if you want. But
yeah, if you want to keep him as a special teams, great. He should be on the roster for that. Just don't put him on the field as a running back is all I'm asking for.
He has in the past with the field goal kicking and then obviously with pass pro and the special teams done well. But do you think that like the struggle so far this season has come from maybe the little bit extra pressure put on because he was named an actual captain for some reason?
I don't know, but it does point out though the fact that he's named the captain, John. It does point out what we should probably expect as far as how slow they will be to adjust and give Woody Marks more playing time. Like, they named Dare a captain. Like, they're probably not going to yank away his playing time after 2 weeks. I hope they do, but I don't think they will.
And the captain thing for me, that's more a reflection on special teams. So that shouldn't apply any pressure to you already not really being utilized on the offense this year and years past. So like, I don't think it has any reflection on.
I don't know.
On
they
his
just seem to love him, man. They just seem to love him. I think they're going to be slow to adjust on it. Which do that at your own peril. But we got to move off of that for now. Let's get to our prize picks, Cam. Our favorite plays of DFS. On Underdog, Prize Picks, wherever you get these lines. I got these lines from Underdog. I think you probably got your lines from Prize Picks.
Correct.
I can mention Underdog since Sean's not here today. He speaks for Prize Picks. So I don't usually mention Underdog if Sean's here. But my first play this week Actually, my first two plays are from the same team, same game. Daniel Jones, his over under for passing yardage in this game, according to Underdog, 212 and a half. 212 yards and a half against the Titans. Not a good defense. And look, I know it's Daniel Jones, but I mean, he seems to be a new guy under Shane Steichen. He's thrown for 272 and 316 in his first game, and this line is 212. Like, I don't even need him to hit 272 or 316. Like, give me 240. Give me 230. Like, the number is 212 and a half. It feels like the market has been slow to adjust on Daniel Jones, and until they do, I'm going to hammer the over.
I'm going to continue to ride that Daniel Jones train because it's worked out for me the first 2 weeks, and I've actually on board with this one. However,
Nice.
with Prize Picks, it's even better because their expectation is 210 and a half.
Oh, all right.
So I'm even more on that bad boy.
I'll play it on Prize Picks then. Shout out to that. So mine. Well, go ahead. Your next one. Your first one.
My first one is Bijan Robinson over 81 and a half yards against the horrible
Same
against the
come on.
Panthers. He ran for over 140 last week against Minnesota, and then the last time he faced Carolina, I think he ran for like 170. So I am without a doubt on board with Bijan.
So I got this at 80 and a half, 1 yard less.
Even better.
But you're right, because this was one of my three. So I'll go ahead and mention this now since we share that one. But 80 and a half rushing yards. You said 81 and a half. I'm fine with either. Because one is the Panthers defense, which was historically bad last year and really show they haven't missed much in that department. Because you asked RJ last segment about Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne had 143 on the Panthers in week 1. And this line for Bijan, a far superior running back, just at 80 and a half or 81 and a half, depending on where you're looking at. So I hammered the over on that one. So my other one, I told you I had two from the same game. It's someone Daniel Jones will be throwing the ball to, hopefully. Now, he does have a questionable tag. We might have the same one again. He does have a questionable tag, so you have to follow it, make sure he plays. But he's been in practice the last 2 days, so it looks like he's trending towards playing. But Tyler Warren's number, is that it?
Yep.
Man, damn, Cam, we're on the same page today.
Yep.
Tyler Warren's number, I'm curious where you got it at, but I got it at 46 and a half. He's gone over 70 passing or receiving yards, like 75 and then 77 in his first 2 games. I don't see any way. I think this is, again, another case of the market kind of slowly adjusting because, I mean, he's been over 70. He's obviously a highly touted rookie. Should have been the first tight end picked, but the Bears made a mistake there. I don't see how if I believe in Daniel Jones to get over 212 or 210 in your case, that Tyler Warren doesn't then go over 46.
No, and that was literally my thought. If while Daniel Jones is on fire, Tyler Warren is going to be on fire. They are in sync. I mean, it's been pretty crazy, and I feel like Tyler Warren he's kind of flown under the radar. Like, I feel like there was a lot more Tyler Warren talk pre-draft, post-draft, around that fantasy time, and now it's like the first 2 weeks of the season because Daniel Jones is playing so well. Tyler Warren's kind of fallen underneath that view, but as long
people
as
also talk about Jonathan Taylor when they're talking about the Colts offense, obviously.
Yeah. So I have that one, but I guess I'll go a different route for this one. Until Jackson Smith-Njigba proves me wrong, I don't see why he can't knock over 73 and a half.
Oh, hold on, what?
73 and a half yards against New Orleans.
Yeah, they're at home too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I would. The only concern there, and it's not big enough concern for me to not play it. The only concern there is you worry about, do they get up so big by early in the third quarter they just stop passing the ball because they're playing the Saints at home. But I think they get that big lead by going to Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Yeah.
So if the number being in the 70s, I think we're fine.
And the thing too was like I going into this year, I really thought Cooper Kupp was going to kind of have like a resurgence. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I drafted him in like 2 of my fantasy teams, and he's been almost non-existent there. Like, he has literally taken nothing away from Smith-Njigba.
Yeah, all right. So we'll go ahead and get out here. We'll carry our NFL picks over to the next hour after we talk about the Astros, who dropped a tough one last night, 4-0. Hunter Brown was decent, gave up 2 monster bombs, and the bullpen gave up 2 more for a 4-0 loss. Now 1 back in the AL West race and 1.5 up on the Guardians for the final playoff spot. So we'll talk about the Astros and where they stand next when the bullpen returns. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Hour number 2 of the Bullpen, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome back in, Houston. Glad to have you listening to the show. Brian McDonald, Cam Smith, and John Belmer with you here for another hour. I believe we'll be back next week because the Aggies are playing in primetime, I think is what I saw. So
it's a short show.
That's right. It's a short show. I think we go, their pregame will start at 1:30. Are you running that pregame?
I am.
All right. So that's going to be a long day for you, Cam. My condolences.
Yes.
But we'll be 12 to 1:30 then next week. So short show next week. But we will be on the air. And I think I was looking at the schedule. We'll pretty much be on the air most weeks. I know in November they play like a nobody school that'll start at 11 a.m. So we'll be off one of the weeks in November. But I think we'll be on for the most part. Aggie schedule seems to be interacting with us quite well here. All right. So again, ESPN Radio 97.5, 92.5. 1 more hour left here at the Bullpen. Brian McDonald, Cam Smith, John Belmer. So Astros lose. I said a tough one going into break. I don't even know if I call it a tough one because they're never really in it. Like Julio Rodriguez hits the first inning home run. And that was all they needed. They ended up scoring 3 more runs for a 4-0 win, but the Mariners only needed the 1 run. And let's be fair, like Hunter Brown, I thought Hunter Brown was really good. I mean, he goes 6 innings, 2 earned runs, struck out 9. And that first inning home run to Julio that ended up being the winning run, that ball was a hard sinker. Low. Not only was it low and in, like far out of the zone, but the broadcast, I don't know if you saw this, they put up the heat map, the heat chart for Julio Rodriguez.
Yeah.
In that area, like low and inside the plate, is like a dark cold zone, like a dark blue cold zone for Julio Rodriguez. So not only was it well off the plate and inside, but it was in a cold zone for Julio, and Julio just hit it 10 miles out.
Yeah, I mean that's one of those pitches you can't blame him. It's like
No,
it's like
tip your
years
cap.
ago when Vladimir Guerrero hit that home run off that ball that basically hit the dirt. I'm pretty sure Vlad has at least one home run where a ball bounced. Like you can't fault the pitcher for that.
No, you can't. So Astros now fall back to 1 game behind the Mariners, only 1.5. I think more importantly, 1.5 up on the Guardians for the final playoff spot. Now the Astros do have Fromber and Jason Alexander going the next 2 days, but I think it's not even really that great of a thing for the Astros because 1, Fromber's been super shaky since August. And 2, the Mariners are throwing George Kirby and Logan Gilbert at you, which are better than, at least right now, certainly better than Jason Alexander, but right now also better than Fromber. So I still think it's advantage Mariners the next 2 days. I think the Astros are going to have to start looking at the wild card, but you know what? I'm done talking about the Astros
Yeah,
today.
that's enough.
They scored 0 runs. I already gave them more than 0 minutes. They've already got more than deserved. So let's get back to football.
Bye, bitch.
Yeah, bye, bitch. Talk to me when you score a run. All right, Cam, we got NFL picks to make. Before we pick this week's games, why don't you update the standings for us?
I would absolutely love to. So, after last week,
we need to get picks from Sean. Oh, Sean's a little busy. We'll have to just discount this week.
Yeah, I might be able to text him a little later.
He's
a little preoccupied,
he's
so
preoccupied.
not sure I want to do that. We'll just go from worst record to best record.
I'm looking at who I assume has the worst record right
So
now. I'm looking right in his face.
After last
his
week,
dumb face.
John coming in at 1-4.
Oh,
John, can't tell you how bad everything you did here was.
Thank you, John.
B-Mac and Sean, respectable 3-2.
All right.
And
C's get degrees, baby.
no surprise here. Me sitting on top, 4-1.
4-1. What was the one you missed?
Denver Indy.
Oh, that was one of the ones I got right. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So 4-1, 3-2, and 1-4 for John behind the glass. All right. So what games are we picking this week, Cam? Hit us with the first one.
We're going to start off with New England versus Pittsburgh.
Now, these first 4 are all just straight up, right?
All just straight up.
Okay. New England versus Pittsburgh. New England at home. I believe Pittsburgh is a small favorite, but this was actually one of the games I considered when we did two favorites and a dog on Jeremy and Joe. But I'm going to take the New England Patriots in this game. Now my bet on the show Friday was more that the point spread. I believe it's 1.5.
I think it's one, yeah.
But I think the Patriots won outright. I'll pick the Patriots in this game.
So I have the Steelers, and John is with you. He's got New England.
I don't like that.
Oh.
I like my pick list.
Hey, wait a second.
You want to switch now?
Is it too late to switch it out?
We'll keep the second game here at home. Jacksonville versus Houston.
Jacksonville. I don't like saying it, but I don't believe, as you could feel evidenced by the first hour of the show, I do not believe in Nick Caley. I'm going to pick Jacksonville home.
Interesting. So me and Big John both have Houston.
Really? I'm on
Yeah.
an island on this one?
I'm
a lone wolf?
As bad as the offense has been, I can't see them going 0-3. Now, if it was somebody else besides,
Is this a they need it more argument?
yes, and if it wasn't Jacksonville, I might be more inclined to go with the other team. But I can't imagine them starting 0-3 because of a loss to Jacksonville.
Also, the Texans play really well division games on the road. So
well, yeah, and I can't remember who pointed this out. I think it was Taylor Dahl, who also works at 1010XL. We talked to yesterday, but I think she pointed out that the Texans have won like 7 straight games in Jacksonville.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Something like that. So look, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for your side of the argument, you and John. I just look, I don't. The unwillingness to play young players like Jalen Nolan and Woody Marks, the struggles with the offensive line, an offensive coordinator who for some reason doesn't believe in motion. Like they've scored touchdowns in like 2 quarters out of 8 so far. Like
bad.
there's not. I see where you're going. I just haven't seen anything that gives me faith that they're going to have a magic turnaround.
Yeah,
but,
and
I guess I'll be a lone wolf there.
And I would like to make the argument that, okay, the first 2 games, Matt Stafford, Baker Mayfield, way up here, Trevor Lawrence
Fair.
down here.
Fair.
But if you look at the numbers, Trevor Lawrence, outside of the interceptions, has produced more than CJ.
Games,
so, yeah.
No, yeah. Oh, God. Anyway, third game.
We'll switch to another divisional game. We have the Chargers versus the Broncos.
Are you going to throw the Chargers in every week?
Probably, and Houston. But this is not every week, but this is a good game.
You know what? I tease, but this game is in LA. I believe the Chargers are 2.5-point favorite last I saw. Is that correct? Or is it 3.5?
I think it's up to 3.5 now.
Either way, they were one of my picks when we did 2 favorites and a dog on the show on Friday. So I will pick, not just pandering here, but I will pick the Chargers to win.
I obviously chose Chargers. And John, he's going against my Chargers again.
Oh, John, what are you doing? You're going Broncos here?
I'm going Broncos here, yeah.
Is this a gut feel?
Well, their defense.
Or is this an FU to Cam?
I think they'll get a little bit of both.
Okay.
We'll call it a 50-50 split.
Man, John might be looking at 1-4 again.
This game is actually pretty intriguing to me. Chicago versus Dallas.
Dallas, I was surprised they were a road favorite. I don't know if that's still the line, but I know yesterday it was Dallas -1.5. Look, Joe is trying to sell me that Caleb Williams hasn't played that poorly. I see part of what he's saying. I don't fully agree with that opinion. I think Dallas is going to go and win a shootout because Dallas defense sucks. We saw what Russell Wilson did against them last week. He rose up from the grave and threw for like 400-something yards.
It's crazy that he leads the league in passing yards.
Because he threw for like 400 plus. Yeah. It was really off of one game. I thought for a moment he was going to get to 500, but fell short there with the interception at the end. Yeah, I'm going to pick Dallas in this game.
Dallas. What did you say the line
I thought it was Dallas -1.5.
So it's down to Dallas -1. Yeah.
Okay.
So you and Johnny are on the board together.
Crap.
Dallas. I went the opposite direction, and I'm going to go with Chicago on this one.
Johnny might be dragging me down here. Strapped an anchor to my ankle and pull me down to the bottom of the sea.
Nobody said you had to strap yourself to him.
No, we should make Johnny go first, so that way we can always just pick the
opposite.
I kid. I love you, Johnny.
All right, so for our
last game,
our tiebreaker, which is against the spread, we're gonna do the Eagle.
Now, hold on, is it a tiebreaker? Or we just because you just gave us you were 4-1, I was 3-2. We're just counting them all.
Yeah, because
is it really a tiebreaker?
It's not technically one. I guess if we were to do it week by week, there would be a tiebreaker. But if we're going to add up the overall record, I guess it doesn't break down to a tiebreaker.
Maybe if we tie an overall record of the year, we can use who did better. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, continue.
So Eagles versus Rams, and Philly is a 3.5-point favorite.
Remind me, where's that game at?
It's in Philly.
It's in Philly, and it's Philly -3.5. That's a good number. That is a good number.
Yeah, because I think that basically would tell you that if it was in LA, it would be 3.5 for the Rams.
Well, usually home field
Doesn't it
advantage
get you
is worth 3
3
points.
points? Yeah. So I guess Philly would be a half a point or. But.
Yeah, it basically be a pick 'em in LA. I think is what Vegas is telling us here. I think if it was 2.5 or under, like I wouldn't even think about it. I'd just say Eagles because I do expect them to win the game. The 3.5 complicates things because it kind of feels like an Eagles 3-point win.
Yeah.
But I will take Eagles and the points. Give me Eagles minus 3.5.
Okay, so you actually don't have to agree with John on this one.
All
So,
right.
yeah,
I got a chance to get that one right.
Me and Johnny went with the Rams, and you're with the Eagles. So
all right, fly Eagles fly, baby. All right, that's all our games here.
That's
right?
all our picks.
All right, on the other side of the break, when the bullpen returns, we'll get into some football and or football. We get into some more NFL and college football because right now Clemson and they just scored a touchdown to get a little bit closer, but they're struggling at home against Syracuse. It was 24-7. They just scored a touchdown. It's about to be 24-14 if they get the extra point. So we'll talk about that more and some other things around the college football world when we get back. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is The Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome back into The Bullpen. Before we get into the college football conversation, I've got to give a few more of my worst Texans losses, regular season losses, because that was the big question today. What are the worst regular season losses in Texans history? And I'm stressing regular season because I know when this happened on Thursday when I went through, I was like, where's the Chiefs collapse 24-0? It's like, again, it's regular season. Because if we encompass all games, we would all just pick playoff games because obviously those are more important. I mentioned the Jaguars, the Hail Mary that Glover Quinn batted into Mike Thomas's arms. That was number 5. Number 4 on my list, I just had to say one word. I guess it's like a combined word, but you'll still get it. Rosencopter.
Yeah.
End
Same
of sentence.
season too, wasn't it?
It was no. They were actually 2 years apart. Rosencopter was 2008. The Jags Hail Mary was 2010. So if you don't remember Rosencopter, which I don't know how you couldn't, the Texans had a 17-point lead under 5 minutes before Sage Rosenfels decided to jump up in the air and get spun around like a helicopter, fumbled, and the Colts completed the comeback. Ended up winning a game. They were trailing by 17 points with 5 minutes left. The craziest thing, if you pull up the highlight, you'll see it. The craziest thing about that Sage Rosenfels play is like it would make sense to dive like that if you were 1 yard away.
Mhm.
He dove 4 yards away. Like there was no world, even if he doesn't get hit while in the air, there was no world he was getting that first down.
Access denied.
Just so bad. So that was the number 4. And the number 3, this is also another like a name game. I don't have to tell you like, well, week 5 of the whatever. Like I'll just say the name of the game, Letterman jacket.
Yep, there it is.
Letterman jacket.
I was waiting for it. Yep.
The Texans were 11-1 coming to the game. They put on those goofy ass high school Letterman jackets, and the Patriots ended up beating them 42-14.
Yeah.
I agree with you, the Letterman, but they were going to lose that game regardless.
Sure, but 42-14.
Regardless.
Yeah, I know. It was pretty bad. All right, let's get into some college football. If you have your own worst Texans losses, text those in to the HRP listener line 713-780-3776. I'll reveal the last two before the show's over. So first question for my college football storylines I want to run by you guys, and involves my team, Texas Longhorns. My question to you guys is, how long does Arch Manning keep this job? Like, I know it might sound crazy to people who haven't watched every snap like I have, although if you've seen the stats, then you probably will get it, especially when he went 10 straight incompletions against who was it they played? Oh, it was
UTEP.
UTEP. God, 10 straight incompletions against UTEP. And these, it's not like these are 10 straight incompletions, where it's a 30-yard, 50-50 ball. The guy didn't come down with it. These are 5-yard crossers, like little outs to the flat, curl routes where he's just sailing it high, sailing it wide, left or right, bouncing it to guys in some cases. Like, he is arguably the most inaccurate quarterback I can remember seeing.
Yeah, and what makes it funnier
to
is
a point where he's got to be, to a point where I hope he's injured.
That's a strong statement.
there was I don't know if he was a radio host, but I know he covers UT, and it was funny because he was going on a rant, and he was basically like, how does Archie Manning look so terrible against a school where people go there to dig tunnels?
I mean, come on, man. It's a minor joke. It's
Yeah.
a minor joke.
But I get it.
So looking at their schedule, they play Sam Houston tonight. They'll be fine, even if Arch continues to be asked. Here's where it starts to get tough. And my question is to you, as I'm going to go through these games, if Arch continues to play like this, Cam, stop me when I get to a point where you bench him, because I have my own answer. I'm seeing if you agree with me. So they beat Sam Houston tonight. They have a bye week the following week. After that, first week in October at Florida. Now, DJ Lagway also not playing well. I think the defense could win that one like 10-7, honestly.
Yeah.
That might be that sort of game. So I think he survives there. Do you see him surviving that?
Yes.
Okay. Next week in the Cotton Bowl, the Red River Shootout, Oklahoma, John Mateer. If Arch plays like ass against Oklahoma, John Mateer looks great. Is Arch benched the next week?
No.
I'm agree. I think he survives that. And then he gets into a stretch where I think he can maybe look good, although he didn't even look good against UTEP, so everything's on the table here. He goes to Kentucky, to Mississippi State, two teams at the bottom of the SEC. I think he survives those.
Agreed.
Here's where I think he runs into the wall that eventually gets him benched. They are at home against number 20 Vanderbilt, number 20 as of now. I mean, Vanderbilt just put boots to ass against South Carolina. That game was competitive last year in Nashville between Vanderbilt and Texas, although it shouldn't have been, but Texas let him back in the game. I think if he plays poorly against Vanderbilt, and if Texas loses at home to Vanderbilt, a smart kid's school, I think he gets benched going into the next week, which is at Georgia. I think if Arch continues to play like this, they will not continue to put him out there going into that Georgia game, which is November 15th. I think that's the point of no return for Arch. Thoughts?
That's tricky. I
know you don't want to put like a first time starter again at Georgia. I get it, but if Arch is this bad, how do you justify running him out there?
It's just hard because so much was invested into him.
Yeah, literally.
Like, I know he's not an NFL quarterback, but it's still almost the equivalent of investing in your college quarterback. So
but it's Texas. They're not worried about that. It's the richest athletic department in the nation.
I mean, I guess at that point, UT would have 2 losses, maybe.
Right now they have one. I think they lose to Oklahoma, and then in this scenario, I think they lose to Vanderbilt, so they'd have 3 losses.
So if they have 3 losses, then yeah, I can see him getting benched because at that point, there's no hope that you're going to make the playoffs.
You're not going to make the playoffs.
Now you're just seeing what you have.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's it. So let's go out to the HRP listener line right now. We have some more college football topics we'll get into, but Cam is joining us. Not this Cam. It looks like it's another Cam. Also wants to talk about Arch Manning. What's going on, Cam?
Yeah, hey guys, love the show, big fan. I hate that you said we're going to lose to Oklahoma. That's absolutely unacceptable. If that happens, I don't know what I would do. Outside of that, I don't see Arch getting benched in any manner. You have to give him a full season to let him see it through. I know it's been ugly. I'm a huge fan. I've watched every snap. I know he's looked rough, to say the least, but that doesn't mean that he's not still a Manning and that he doesn't deserve to at least have a full year to see it through. I feel like I'm a lot like you. We're just hoping for the best and seeing it through. So far, I'm not impressed either. But I don't see him getting the curtain early. I don't know how that happens. If it does, it's going to be a tragedy for Longhorn Nation, and I just wanted to get y'all's thoughts on that. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Cam, for the nice comments and also the call and listening to the show. Like, I think what Cam hit on there, he mentioned in part of his reasoning why he couldn't see Arch getting the hook is because of the last name on the back of his jersey.
It's valid.
It is valid, and you can definitely make the argument it's what got him here, because like the level of competition he played at against in high school in New Orleans, like Lance has talked about, lots of people have talked about, like the high school competition he played against in New Orleans was pretty low level.
Yeah.
Like nothing compared to what major Texas high school football would be. So, and then on top of that, he goes 2 years where he only has 2 starts. And on top of that, he has a few other games where he comes in or he runs Wildcat. He looked fine last year. He started against a directional school in Mississippi State. But again, that's a directional school that you're supposed to beat by 50 in Mississippi State, who went 0 for the entire SEC season last year. Like the worst team in the SEC. So like there was really nothing to judge Arch on because his high school career was against lesser competition. His only 2 starts in college up until the season were also against the bottom level competition that they could possibly face. So there wasn't a lot to judge on him. The only thing I could really judge on is this year, and I hope he's hurt because I don't feel like this is even a hot take. He's the most inaccurate quarterback I have seen. And look, the schedule, obviously Ohio State in week 1, which he was terrible against Ohio State, but you want to dismiss that because they got Caleb Downs, the best safety in the game. You're in Ohio Stadium. You're on the road against the number 3 team in the nation. A former NFL defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, had all offseason to game plan for you. Fine. Throw that out the window. You then go play San Jose State and UTEP. And I know he threw 4 touchdowns against San Jose State, but they were wide open, like and even in those passes, like he was not all that accurate. It wasn't like hit the guy in stride, lead him up the field sort of stuff. It was behind, slow down to catch the ball. I mean, it didn't improve hardly at all against San Jose State.
No.
In UTEP.
And it's San Jose State, and it's UTEP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At home. Like, I don't know what else we can... Look, I am, to Cam's point, like, I'm not willing to throw in the towel now, because why would you? You got 1 loss. Like you said, there's still the Manning name on the back. You're still hoping to turn things around and make the playoff, which you could still afford to lose another game and make the playoffs. But if you lose to Oklahoma, which again, Longhorn fan here, but I'm expecting a loss to Oklahoma the way John Mateer is playing, and then especially if you lose to Vanderbilt at home, I think they could beat Florida, Kentucky, Mississippi State just on their defense. But if the offense doesn't play better, they're not going to beat Oklahoma, and I don't think they beat Vanderbilt if the offense doesn't play better. I don't see how Arch survives that. If Sark is serious about doing the most he can this season, if this is about the long game of we got to get Arch right, looking ahead to 2026, then okay.
Yeah.
But I guess that'll be a decision Sark has to make at the time. Like he'll have to at that time decide who am I playing in 2026, and then whoever that guy is, get that guy ready.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
it's Arch.
but
I don't
that's
know.
even the crazier thing because if you end Archie's season early, you're basically saying you know what you have in him. So then what are you supposed to do with him next year if he decides he wants to come back? It's just a really weird situation that UT is like. There's so much hype again with like the name and who he was going into the season. It's just crazy to me that after 3 games, he's already getting booed.
Oh yeah, the Boo Birds
Like-
will go out in full force
And
against UTEP.
That's crazy. So I think that
And warranted. Again,
Yeah.
10 straight incompletions at one point. I mean, he's bouncing passes. He's throwing them high. He's throwing and again, I take it from someone who's watched every snap this year of Longhorn football. We're not talking about, oh, well, Arch can't hit, a 30-yard post route into double coverage, which really he should throw anyway. But it's not like this is some super tight window 30 yards down the field. It's just halfbacks going to the flat, curl routes. I mean, we saw in the Ohio State game, how many times did he throw 5 yards behind Ryan Wingo on like a short 2-yard crosser?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about Arch missing, and he's missing it wildly. Like, I really do think there's a high percentage that he's hurt, and for whatever reason, they're just not going to tell us. Because as mid as I thought he was last year, like, there's no reason from what I saw last year, even in those 2 games, for him to be this bad.
Yeah,
other than injury.
And it would be one thing if these bad games were against ranked opponents.
Yeah,
but
it's
it was
UTEP and San Jose State.
It was arguably, and 2 wins, but percentage-wise,
they didn't cover.
They
didn't cover.
It was still 2 bad performances against 2 really bad teams.
I'm glad you said bad performances because to me, like, if you're playing UTEP and San Jose State, you have to cover. Like, you have to. That is a team, like when Texas or another program of that ilk is at their best, that's a game where you look up and it's 60-3.
Yeah.
And they're winning like 28-7.
And there's a difference between, okay, sure, he's not throwing for 300 yards, but you can at least hope that somebody of that stature would have 60% completion percentage,
hit a drag route. Just hit a drag route.
70. But
that's
the fact
really
that,
all I'm asking
But the
for.
fact that his percentage is like 55 in college, and that's the other thing. It's college. There's quarterbacks who are throwing 78% completion percentage.
You mentioned like he's not an NFL quarterback. Like NFL quarterbacks gotta be the furthest thing from what we're talking about with Arch right now. Like he is so far behind. He's so far removed from being a good college quarterback. Like I know he might get drafted. Like if he went into the draft this year, he might get drafted because of the name on the back of his jersey. But
yeah,
good luck to
the
that.
Saints
team.
are like looking at it now, like, oh God, how do we break into the
do we
Mannings?
trade back?
Yeah.
Trade back? All right, two quick questions. Let's answer these quickly, and we'll move on to Mount Rushmore +1. Could Billy Napier lose his job this weekend if he loses to Miami? Obviously, pretty rough stretch for Florida. They lost to USF, and then they lost to, I'm blanking on the team they lost to next. But rough stretch for Florida so far with Billy Napier. We obviously know what happened last year.
Man, is he fired? Ugh.
I don't see how he makes it through the season if it continues going this way. I guess the question more becomes like, when does it happen?
I feel like Florida hasn't been.
I'm pulling up the schedule.
Nervous about.
Oh, it was LSU. So they won their first week against LIU, whoever the hell that is. But next week, South Florida at home, they lost 18-16. We all remember that. And then LSU beat them 20-10 the following week at LSU. Like I mean, look at their upcoming schedule, Cam. At Miami tonight, home for Texas, which we'll see. At Texas A&M, who looked great against Notre Dame. Well, they gave up 40 or whatever. But then you got Ole Miss on the schedule, Georgia on the schedule, Tennessee on the schedule. These are all top 20 teams. Like I think Billy.
And your expectation is to beat these SEC teams,
right? Like Billy Napier, he's already got 2 losses. Let's be pessimistic. Lose to Miami, that's 3. Texas 4. A&M, that's 5. Georgia 6, and Ole Miss 7, Tennessee 8. I mean, he could be looking at a 4-8 season. Oh, and Florida State to close the year. He could be looking at a 3-win season.
So
honestly, 3-9 is within the realm of possibility here.
I think how I look at it is the fact that they're playing number 4 Miami, and then what is now number 8 Texas, and then what will be number 10 A&M. Even if they lose all 3 of those games, I think the deciding factor is going to be that Mississippi State game. I think if
I'm not making a decision on Billy Napier based upon what they do against Mississippi State. Now, if they lose it, sure. But like if he wins it, that doesn't gain him in any extra time.
No, I'm saying if he loses at Mississippi State, he's done.
He's got to go. He's got to go to me.
Yeah.
All right, really quick here. Mike Gundy did something that hasn't happened in like 50 years. They lost at home last night to Tulsa. They lost 19-12.
The Golden
at
Hurricanes
home against Tulsa. Is Mike Gundy done? We know what happened against Oregon a couple weeks ago. They got their asses handed to them like 69-10 or something. Does Mike Gundy survive the season? Yes or no?
Yeah. Yes.
I'm gonna go no. All right.
I'm not confident about it though.
No,
as you can
I
tell.
know he was in the Big 12 title game 2 years ago, and Texas this last year, which in that game they also got beat down pretty hard. But like things are falling off. He's crying about not getting money before he faces Oregon. Now he's losing to Tulsa for the first time in like the last 50 years of that program at home, scoring 12 points. In Big 12, like they're clearly towards the bottom of the Big 12. That could also be kind of like Billy Napier, a 3-4 win season. If that happens, I don't see how he survives.
Actually, now that I look at it, no, I don't think he survives.
All right, we got to get out. We're over here. Mount Rushmore plus one in the bullpen. On the Mount Rushmore plus one is next to the bullpen. ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. Welcome in, Houston, to the best part of your weekend. Welcome into Mount Rushmore Plus One, the award-winning, game-changing, sports radio landscape-changing segment that will soon, one day, get Cam, John, myself, Sean Mapes, RJ Saunders, who was a part of it back in the day.
Maybe Sean. I think you have to have
Andrew
a certain
Carlson
amount of
part of it as well.
appearances to make it.
I mean, he's got more appearances than
I do actually right now.
Yeah, I think he still has the second most. And he's also a co-creator, but it'll get us in the Texas Radio Hall of Fame. I got to finish the line here, even though it might be at my own peril. If far less than the 27 years it took those bums, John and Lance, to get into the Texas Radio Hall of Fame. I'm just saying that right now. 27 years, my ass. We'll be in 13 max.
Half the time. Impeccable.
I might be a little reaching a little bit here.
Shoot for
John,
the stars,
I don't
Brian.
think you did one the last time around. You want to lead us off here?
Sure,
I don't
I
think
can lead
you had
us
an
off.
opportunity. Yeah, go ahead and lead us off. John.
Yeah, because it's in relation to the conversation we just had about Arch Manning. So let me go ahead and
is this a troll list?
kick it off. Not really,
Oh.
not really. But it is inspired by your disdain for the performance of Arch Manning so far in his young college career. My list is the Mount Rushmore +1 of athletes that have not lived up to their family names over the
I
years.
like that. Okay.
And I not fair to Arch because he still has a lot of time and a lot of opportunities to turn
No,
this
go
around.
ahead and bash away, brother. He's ass right now.
Okay. Well, I started local. Number 5, Kevin Biggio.
Oh, yeah.
And he hasn't had like the worst Major League Baseball
I believe his
career.
like either rookie year or second year was pretty promising, but it fell off quickly after that.
Nothing close to Hall of Fame
No.
father here. So definitely made the list. Not high on the list compared to some of these others. But number 4, going down here is Patrick Ewing Jr.
I forgot about him.
Patrick Ewing Jr. played in 7 NBA games, scored 3 total points, all from the free throw line. So
He never made a field goal.
Never
in his
made a
NBA
field
career.
goal.
Wow.
0.0 field
I
goal
wonder
percentage.
if he even made the league if his last name wasn't Ewing.
Yeah, probably
That's
not.
it feels like a Bronny situation.
It does. Bronny's better than this, which just says a lot here in this case. Number 3, I went with Marcus Jordan. Everybody can understand exactly why. And at UCF, cost UCF a lot of money. They had a contract with Adidas, and he refused to wear Adidas, because of the last name. So it cost them a lot of money. Never made it to the NBA. So Marcus Jordan on the list. Number 2, now we start to get into what I think are really crazy ones here. Pete Rose Jr.
I didn't even know of a Pete Rose Jr.
Yep. Pete Rose Jr. was briefly brought up from the minors to play for the Cincinnati Reds.
Where's Papa played?
Where's Papa played?
Where's Papa betted?
Betted, yeah, there you go. He played, but he also betted. 2 hits and 14 at-bats in his major league career, and then sent back down
Sounds
to
like
the
he
minors.
played for the Astros offense right now.
It does.
Hey-o.
It
He
does.
does have a lot of he did have a lot of strikeouts in his
Fits right in.
9 strikeouts and 14 at
All right, what's number 1 on this list here, Johnny?
Number 1, Jerry Rice Jr.
Oh, man.
Jerry Rice Jr., undrafted, played for UCLA, played 1 game with Washington, or was on Washington for like the practice squad stuff. Cut and then played 1 year in Canada. Never lived up. Played wide receiver, but never anywhere close. And maybe that's not really fair because Jerry Rice is the best of all time. But when your name is Jerry Rice,
yeah, I'm
you
wondering,
can't suck at wide receiver.
As you're going through this list, there's obviously been a lot of really great athletes who had professional athlete parents.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to remember the last top a player who would be on the Mount Rushmore at their position in their sport. The last one of those who had a son who was nearly as good. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
It does, because Ken Griffey Sr. wasn't.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
know?
Like Ken Griffey Sr. was a good player, so was Barry Bonds' player, but they weren't like a Mount Rushmore level player. That's what I'm saying. Like an all-time great, then having a kid who was also an all-time great. Has that happened? I can't think of one on top of my head.
Vladimir Jr. is the closest, I think, maybe.
Yeah,
That's a good one because he's
Vlad
going to be a
Senior,
really
Vlad
good player.
Jr., that's pretty good. Although obviously Vlad Jr. still got to play out the rest of his career.
We might get there with Marvin Harrison Jr. He had a decent rookie year, and he had a good opening game this season. But I think that's so too.
Obviously, got a long way to go there. Yeah.
You know, the other thing too is not just Jerry Rice Jr., but Brendan Rice, who the Chargers drafted last year, only played 3 games, and he always got. But I'm just saying, to have 2 sons try to live up to Jerry Rice.
It's impossible.
Well,
it's
to
impossible.
be fair though, if your name is not Jerry, people may not recognize that you're the son. But when your name is Jerry Rice Jr.,
yeah, it's gonna be tough to run from that. All right, Cam, what's your list this week?
So my list, and shout out to Florida for this.
The whole state or the program?
The whole state of Florida.
Okay.
My thing is stupid things Florida people have done so far this year.
This could be a Mount Rushmore plus affinity.
It could. It really could.
You could make this a whole running series, but go ahead.
Maybe. First one. Alligator attack survivor was then shot and killed by cops 2 hours later.
Oh, man. He survived the alligator and then gets.
So apparently he survived the alligator, and then 2 hours later, cops received a call from the same man who had survived the alligator attack, saying that he was growling at neighbors and arming himself with garden shears, then tried to break into a house, was tased by cops, and obviously they had to take extra measures to subdue him.
There's obviously some missing details in that story, but that's awful.
That's
go
pretty crazy.
Yeah, go ahead.
The next one, not the sticky bandit from Home Alone, but the nail bandit. So apparently a man was shooting sharp objects at
What, he had a nail gun or something?
yeah, at passing by emergency vehicles.
Oh my god! At
Emergency vehicles,
Oh
yeah.
my-
Fire truck and
ambulances.
EMS.
Oh,
I mean, that's not
Florida.
funny, but like
only emergency vehicles, not just
Yeah,
regular
like
people.
he was clearly targeting
Yeah.
like one specific, like, of all the people I could get back at in this
Yeah.
world, the people that wronged me, it's the people trying to save a man from a heart attack
exactly. Oh, Florida. The next one, this is actually pretty comical. An elderly gentleman used his surveillance systems to activate sprinklers on his disabled neighbors.
right now. Oh, God. All right, next.
That one's mean.
I don't even want to talk about that one. Next.
A Florida man swallows $1.3 million in stolen jewelry after the cops pull him over and realize they can't find it.
Man, that sounds like a painful exit.
Starts complaining about stomach issues, go to the hospital, do an x-ray, and sure enough, there's $1.3 million worth of jewelry.
So
in
we're
his
talking
stomach.
like watches and necklaces. Like, what are we like a necklace might pass depending on like what else it's got with it, but like a watch.
So according to
that
this,
sounds like a painful exit.
he impersonated an Orlando Magic basketball player and represented himself at Tiffany Company's jewelry.
They bought it.
They bought it, and he ended up swallowing
Swindling?
stolen
Okay.
earrings and a ring.
An earring. That's got a sharp point, brother. That's good. I mean,
Yeah,
that could
man.
do some damage going out.
I can't imagine how that
ugh.
comes out.
All right, what's number one?
The next one, this one is actually comical because nobody really got hurt. But a foot fetish man runs over a model's foot after she asked him for $1,000 to sniff her
Was
shoes.
this Rex Ryan?
No,
It sounds like it could be Rex Ryan.
this was not
Let's
Rex
pretend
Ryan.
that it was Rex Ryan.
Okay.
I cannot believe Rex Ryan did that.
Yeah. How dare her ask me $1,000?
How dare she ask
to
Rex
smell my
Ryan?
feet
No.
and shoes? Yeah. So
Let's try not to get sued for defamation here.
So
Although I
that's-
think we have a case, like there's video evidence.
it's
This Rex-
definitely not Rex Ryan.
Oh,
yeah.
but let's pretend it
But
is.
it's funnier if
Yeah,
it
it's
is,
funny,
yeah.
funnier to pretend it is. All right, my Mount Rushmore plus one, not as crazy as that, but this is a football season related thing. Like, when I'm in my house watching a football game, I think we're all like this when we watch a game, and especially if we're watching our team, we're passionate, we're into it, reacting to what's happening. And if something happens that should or shouldn't be a flag, I think we often find ourselves doing the motion of what that flag would be, like the referee's signal for that penalty or that whatever happened in the game. So this is my Mount Rushmore plus one of football signals I'm most likely to pantomime myself like I'm the referee during the game.
Okay, I like this.
You with me? All right. First one, this is not technically a penalty. It's more like why a penalty isn't called, but it's the uncatchable sign for pass interference. Like if the ball's like out of bounds, you see the referee. Yes, yeah, John knows exactly. Like I'll do that so many times where I see my DB for my team like make contact. I'm like, no, uncatchable, bro. You see me making that sign. That's number one on my list. Number two is holding. We all do you see the block, like, no, holding, bring that back, bring that bleep back. We're all making the holding sign in our house. So that one gets pantomimed quite a bit as well. False start. We all do that, right? Your defense is fired up. It's third down. Maybe the crowd got to him, and you see the guy. You just stand up. You start doing the false start motion.
It's a dance move, too.
Yeah, it's 100%. All right, two more in here. Pass interference. Like if my receiver goes down the field, he doesn't catch the ball, but there's contact. I'm putting the hands out. Pass interference, bro. Throw the flag. And the number one on my list, I think this is probably the most pantomimed, even from players too, but it's first down. Like they're like anytime, especially in a big drive, teams from behind or maybe trying to put them away, 4-minute offense trying to milk the clock. The first down signal in a big moment is an automatic. I got to do it too. I got to help the referee put my arm out there.
That's definitely the one that everybody does. I'm surprised that throwing a flag from the hip You know, like I know it's not specific, but
Oh
like,
yeah,
flag,
I
flag.
went with specific calls, but you're right. I do that as one that one as well. Any other calls come up for you guys off the top of your head? Also, I didn't put this on my list, but I also do personal fouls sometimes. I'm doing the arm across the arm.
Yeah,
be careful
encroachment.
How you
Yeah,
raise
you gotta
those
be
arms, though.
yeah, you gotta be careful.
That was an interesting list.
All right,
Yeah,
all
that was
right.
an interesting list.
One segment left here to go. Mount Rushmore over for this week. But when we get back, I'll reveal the final two picks on my worst regular season losses in Texans history. Plus, we'll get into the worst people in sports and what we love from sports. That when the bullpen returns, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5.
This is The Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here are the producers of ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Welcome back in. One final segment today on the Bullpen, ESPN Radio 97.5 and 92.5. So before we get into our worst people in sports and what we love from sports this week, as we always do to finish the show, the final two in my power ranking of the worst regular season losses in Texans history. If you missed the early ones, number 5 was the Jags Hail Mary loss in 2010 that Glover Quinn batted into a Jaguar Mike Thomas right into his hands. The Letterman jacket game was 3, and then I accidentally went out of order here. Number 4 was the Rosencopter game. So those were 5, 4, and 3. 2 left. Now, these made the list because they were embarrassing like the other losses, but these also had high stakes on the line for the Texans. In both cases, one in 2011, one in 2012, had they won this game, the Texans would have either probably gotten a bye or would have been far more likely to get the bye. And in neither case did they get the bye. Obviously, back when the NFL playoffs have 2 byes. So number 2 on the list, 2012 against the Vikings. The Texans were 12-2 coming into a home game against the Christian Ponder-led Vikings and lost. And not only lost, like barely scored. Like it was not even a competitive game. Like the Christian Ponder-led Vikings. The Texans were 12-2. The week before they beat the Colts to clinch the AFC South, 12-2, and they go and lose to the Christian Ponder-led Vikings to lose any chance they had at a bye. And number 1 on the list, same thing. They lost their chance at a bye. 2011, the Texans were 10-4 going into a Thursday night road game against the Colts. Okay, that doesn't sound bad on the surface. Like, why is that embarrassing? Because the Colts had 1 win and were quarterbacked by Dan Orlovsky, and the Texans lost with a chance to get a bye. That is number 1 on my list.
That's a bad one.
Yeah, it's real bad.
That's
it's real bad.
bad
I remember the party I threw with me and my buddies. We were all hyped. Texas scored on their first drive. I believe it was an Arian Foster touchdown, and didn't do jack squat the rest of the game. It was a rough one. All right, so we'll finish up here with our worst people in sports and what we love from sports this week. My worst person in sports, Stephen A. Smith. For this, ESPN has their first WWE card tonight on the ESPN app. WrestlePalooza happening in Indianapolis tonight at 6 o'clock. And Stephen A. Smith, I guess, to honor this momentous occasion, gave his top 5 wrestlers of all time. Most of them made sense until he got to number 1, John.
Maybe it was the intro. Maybe it was the walk to the arena. Maybe it was what he did when he went like 175-0 to start his career. Put it up there right now, please. Number 1, Goldberg. Wow. Okay. Yes, sir. That's my guy right there. Goldberg himself.
Let me break this down for you. Right? What he does for a profession is piss people off, right? Yeah. That's what he does. Yeah. So what he did is he bait and switched you. He set up a list that is arguably accurate. The Road Warriors, The Rock, Hogan, Flair. He left out a few because it's just the top 5. But then what he does is he comes in and he Stephen A's it and he goes, Goldberg at number 1, because he knows that is the name that is going to piss off maximum amount of people at all time, putting Goldberg on that 1. And I'm not going to say he's not great. I love Bill. I think he's a great performer, had great moments in this business. But putting him at 1?
At 1, bro. Come on.
That other voice, that of the chief content creator, Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Paul Levesque, if you will. But he's absolutely right. That has to be what Stephen A. was doing here. He was going for the his list was fine, although Road Warriors was a little suspect. But his list was fine, and then he decided to put Goldberg, like arguably one of the worst wrestlers of all time that's injured so many people, damn near killed The Undertaker in Saudi Arabia like 4 years ago. And he puts him at number 1. That can only be a troll job from Stephen A. But what else would you expect?
Nothing.
Yeah. All right, so who's your worst person in sports, Cam?
My worst person is an entire football team, and that football team is the UCLA Bruins, who have fallen to 0-3 after getting mollywopped to New Mexico by 35-10 in a game in which they paid New Mexico $1.2 million to travel to California. And this is also a New Mexico team who has a first-year head coach and over 70 new players.
Yeah, because Diego Pavia was on that team a couple years ago, and he obviously transferred to Vanderbilt. I'm trying to remember the name of that UCLA coach, but I remember he had an embarrassing.
Deshaun Foster.
Yes, remember that press conference he had at like Big Ten Media Days a couple years? Like, hi, I'm Deshaun Foster.
Yeah.
I coached UCLA. We're a school in California. It's in Southern California with a pop. It was so weird.
He's a robot.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm with that. That's a bad loss there. All right, let's stop swimming with the English sharks. Go ahead and doggy paddle over to the Sea of Tranquility. Take a deep breath and talk about what we loved in sports this week. What I loved in sports this week. Also wrestling, Johnny. We're going to hear 2 things about wrestling, and this is on game day this morning. Game day this morning when they're making picks for college football games, also made picks for tonight's Brock Lesnar versus John Cena match, and actually got Nick Saban involved. I love this clip you're about to hear where they got Nick Saban to talk wrestling. Go ahead, Johnny.
Ricky Stanicki was amazing. Peacemaker is certainly fantastic, and he committed his life to the WWE and took the WWE to places it had never seen. John Cena is certainly being billed as the GOAT in this particular fight for good reason. He is that. But he's taking on the beast, Brock Lesnar. His arms hang down to his shins. He was an NFL player. He's in the WWE. He's a world heavyweight champion in the UFC, and tonight he beats the hell out of John Cena at WrestlePalooza in Indianapolis.
Not so fast, my friend. John Cena, you can't see me.
Yes, that was the voice of Nick Saban, billion-time national champion, hitting the Lee Corso Not So Fast, my friend, which great tribute there. But then going into the John Cena catchline of, you can't see me. The fact that the ESPN has Nick Saban making John Cena taunting references, I love it.
Yeah, they had to tell him that was
probably
the phrase.
so.
Yeah.
But that has to eat at the non-wrestling fans that they turn into here college football picks and they're picking Brock Lesnar versus John Cena. Suck it, non-wrestling fans.
It's Nick too.
Yes, exactly. That made it. Yes, the fact that they got Nick Saban of all people. All right, that'll do for the show this week. We got about 45
Doesn't Cam
seconds.
get to give his?
Oh, my bad, Cam.
It's okay.
Yeah, what'd you love?
Wow.
That's my bad.
Okay.
My love also was skipping Cam, but go ahead.
Well, thank you. My love in sports is a 58-year-old man by the name of Thomas Sillo who has enrolled in college and will be
I saw this.
be a supposedly starting freshman defensive lineman at Lickaming College, a Division III school.
Did you say his age? Was it like 58?
He is 58 years old.
Incredible, and he's starting.
That's crazy.
All right, we got about 20 seconds left here. Quickly, I think we picked the game earlier, but what's your score prediction for Jags Texans?
I'm going to go Texans 20, Jacksonville 14.
Jags 20, Texans 17. All right, that'll do it for the bullpen. For Cam Smith, for John Belmer, I'm Brian McDonald. Talk to you next week in Houston.